Hi, Camille. Hi.
Hello there.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, we'll wait for Rob. I think like 4 people add themselves into agenda. So
Hello again. My thing disconnected.
hi.
Yeah, hi.
How are you?
So I think like the topic would be TypeScript migration, right? The main topic of the day.
Yep. I think, yes.
Hi, Rob. So, hey.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
We're ready to start. Let me get link to agenda and I will post it into channel. By the way, like we will have 2 January meetings because like we moved December meeting into January, so it's like second meeting in January, which is a little bit confusing, but I think we will manage. So I posted link to agenda, and yeah, one thing I always should say, you need to sign a membership agreement for GraphQL Foundation. If you didn't do that, it's pretty easy. You can sign it as individual. If you don't want to put it through legal department of your company, just sign it as individual. By the way, how's my sound? Everything is good? Do you hear me? Yeah, okay. So the same code of conduct and participation guides, it's very easy. You just go to, I think, like DocuSign and just leave a signature there. So let's introduce ourselves using like order in attendees section of agenda. So hi, my name is Ivan and I'm maintaining GraphQL.js and I also work as contractor for GraphQL Foundation.
Hi, I'm Sahaj, and I am helping out with GraphQL.js migration.
Oh, I think that's me. Yeah, so I'm Camille and I work with the guild.
Rob, I work for First Dibs. I've been working on the defer and stream spec.
So yeah, I think like for 4 people, and since we actually have recording and it's every time go to YouTube, I think like we should capture things in agenda items, like full notes is less important. Maybe when we will have more people and more topics to discuss, we will start capturing notes. Plus, if somebody volunteer to do it offline, we will have recording. Yeah, review agenda. So discuss 1600, conversion PR, and discuss issue. Oh, I didn't look into.
It's a new one, opened today.
Okay. Yeah. So
after the 15.5 release.
So it's a broke something.
I don't know. That's why I put it here.
Okay. So yeah, I think if it's like particular issue, we can figure out. Yeah, offline and figure out like I need to read it and think about it. Anybody else want to suggest any other topic, agenda item?
Yeah, I didn't have any agenda items. Again, I just wanted to stay up to date on the 16 release.
So as part of Camille, you created like alternative PR for TypeScript migration, and we will discuss it in context of item number 7. think it's like we first get like a Sahid update, and when we discuss it as part of discussion. Not a lot of progress on action items. I actually spent my time allocated for GraphQL foundation for GraphQL, mostly helping Sahid with his PR, mentoring him, and doing releases. We'll discuss it actually in item number 6. So let's switch to it. So I can share my screen for a moment. I think like, yeah. So do you see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of tabs. I like tabs in Chrome. So yesterday I missed deadlines. I had like last time I spoke about security fixes and finally figure out how to do it properly. I get through a couple of iterations. That's why I'm like block release a little bit. Before publishing it officially as CVE, I need to update 14.x6 version to move fix to 14.x6. That's why it's not public yet. After I release new version of 14 release line, I will publish CVE officially. It's not big thing, it's just like out of memory, but it's nice to think you can drop any GraphQL.js server pretty easily with small query. So something I wanted to fix in 15.0.0. So I released it yesterday, and there is one issue from this release. But since it's one, I think it's more or less working. Maybe I broke something unintentionally. Switch master to main, it is done. Big thanks to Sahid for his PR. So I basically merged his PR and press like a GitHub button to do that. Item number 3, I actually like do it right now. It's in the process. So I'm moving commits from 16.x6 to main. I cannot do it like in one go because we have this like script to generate changelogs. So I need to do it manually, opening pairs. Plus, it allows us to pass all checks on every individual commit. So we show that every commit is correct. Not only like 16.x6 branch as a whole, but every commit is correct. So I think I will finish it tomorrow. And I also working on this one. It's still because we want to remove polyfills in flow before releasing alpha 1. I need to figure out how to disable flow typings. I will basically clone standard lib, flow standard lib, and fix it there, which is strange. But without it, we will break flow before we move from flow to TypeScript. We think, yeah, let's keep original deadline because it's like fair, but let's this one, by the way, it's like fixed test CI and release script. We fix it together with Sahid inside his PR, so it's green. The last thing we had problematic thing, test coverage, but I fixed it in 16.x6. I just need to move this commit into main. So when Sahid will rebase his PR, it will be green except for TC check, as like mentioned in the issue. So address just like fixed before, partly in PR and partly in 16xx. So yes, so I will try to release 16.00 Alpha 1 tomorrow. It's not a lot of work, it just like basically move and remove polyfills. So, and after that, squash commits. Like idea, we can discuss like a little bit different procedure, how to do it more effectively. So it's like update on my side about like release process. So idea is to get to this point, point number 6, before the end of the month, basically on weekends, Friday and weekends, because most of the work is already done. Like this thing, the only like problematic thing is this remove polyfills. Yeah. And any question about this topic or any proposal how we can do it more effectively?
Yeah, about the polyfills, you mean object values and object entries?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I did that in my PR.
So issue here is that I show this trick to Sahid in his PR. Basically, idea is to keep 2828 to just typings. So it should not change any generated code because we use bubble for flow and for TypeScript. That means if you make create npm package before 2828 and if you create it after 2828, it should be the same package. Only DTS files can change, and even like, but the generated code like MJS file and JavaScript file should be the same. That way we ensure that we don't change runtime behavior. We will only change types from flow to TypeScript. And actually, like on Sahid PR, it's like that. So if you go to 2828, generate npm package before and after 2828, you will have the same exact JavaScript code. Which is a good way to ensure that we don't make any unintentional changes, because basically we migrating type systems, we're not changing JavaScript code. That's why like polyfills and everything else that change generated code should go into Alpha 1. And another thing, if later somebody will have issues, we can ask them to test the project or something against Alpha 1 and check if it's present or not. So we can basically bisect between TypeScript migration and like code changes. That's why IDEs and removing polyfills is the only like issues we have with this approach. Everything else is like easily addressable. So it's strange that we fixing stuff in flow before TypeScript migration, but that way we can sure it's like double check. We sure that code is 100% sound in flow and 100% sound TypeScript, because both type systems have their own quirks. Yeah, it's like to explain this issue. I will try to spend on it like a couple more hours. I spend like 2 hours today, couple more hours. If I didn't figure out a way how to do it properly, I will do some hack and fall. Yeah. So any other questions about process?
I mean, we've got some quite big code bases, so I can just run, whatever changes we do on them, open source and like internal stuff, like apps for clients, etc. So I think we're good in terms of like, removing polyfills even, because I think the only polyfills that we have is just entries and values of the object. And those are like 8 imports, 8 per each polyfill. So, there's not a lot of change in the code actually, and even in the logic.
Yeah, like let's do it like that. I will try for a couple hours. If it doesn't work, yeah, we'll make it. Maybe we'll make it last commit before alpha 1 and just disable full check. Yeah. So I still want to do clean migration, but if it will block a process, it's not worth it. So yeah, one thing I can do in parallel, I can give Sahid commit rights, and we can create branch for 2828. So we can merge official branch. So we can create branch on GraphQL.js repo, and we can merge like stuff. So we can take stuff from your PR or stuff that you figure out how to fix, and you can submit it against like Sahid PR on top of his, and he can merge it. That's why we can split the work in parallel. Because right now basically I'm blocking you, and right now previously setup was complicated. We had like a master and 16xx from master and 2828 from 16xx, which was bad for like merging pair. So since right now I will finish that tomorrow, Sahid branch will be on top of main basically. So, but why he can start like accepting PRs and we can work in parallel before 16x6 16 alpha release basically. So we can split the work. Yeah. Let's switch to a second topic. No, so it's a pair. So I will stop sharing and we switch to second topic. Sahid will give update on his PR, and we discuss how to collaborate on it, how to like move it forward. So
yeah. So Awan helped me a lot last 2 weeks. We both were on call like every single day, I guess. Yeah, and we are basically left with comparing the DTS files and comparing the current DTS files and the ones we have in the TypeScript. We need to compare them and be sure that they are the exact same. We are not breaking anything. And then once that is fixed, we need to just enable ESLint, so all the linting rules are up to date, and then enable the TypeScript ESLint rule, so everything is an interface, because we bumped into an issue where it was a TypeScript related issue. We asked TypeScript team on that. We opened up, let me see if I can if I can share my screen. There was a TypeScript related issue. Desktop 3, yeah. Yeah, so if you can see my screen. Yeah, so there was a TypeScript interface issue, I think. Not this one.
With recursive,
SPRs.
it was like
It was the, I forgot the name of that one. Let me open Stack Overflow. Yeah, recursive type aliases and TypeScript. We spent like 2 days on trying to figure out why they're not working. And someone on Stack Overflow did answer us. And we figured out, TypeScript team says this is not possible basically right now with how the circularity works in TypeScript. So because of that, we need to convert all our types to use, so from types, we need to use interfaces. So that's why we have to compare the DTS files and then do the migration to use interfaces, just to be sure that we are not breaking any current types in the new system, because the goal, as Ivan mentioned, is not to break many big things. It should be the exact same from going from a 15.5 to 16, just difference between you converting to TS file, nothing else. Yeah, and I will rebase my PR once we are, because this is right now out of sync, because I think we are merging things from 16x to the main branch and shifting everything from 16x to the main. So once all those are merged in, I will rebase my PR and then we can work from there.
yeah.
I can stop sharing.
Yeah. So to explain, and we can discuss how we collaborate. So I will explain a plan and my point of view. I will share screen for a second. And so, yeah. So let's start from the hit PR. Yes, he said it's out of sync because we complicated. It's one branch out of another branch out of another branch. But idea is we can visit my commits and visit the hit commits. So I can individually review them in a process. Yeah, so see, it's like a commit that just rename files, nothing else. And for a lot of files, actually, renaming them is enough. It's like for syntax and TypeScript syntax is like similar enough that you can actually rename some files and they will work if typings are simple. So, or we can open another one with converting plus, which is read-only info into read-only in TypeScript. So it's pretty self-explanatory, and I can review it like in a matter of like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and I just like review. And as he said, we spent a bunch of time, and even in simple commits, you can discover some strange things or things that should be fixed or updated. Because like some contexts I was, for example, I think not this one, but one about
I think we cherry picked a few in 15.5 from here. Like some changes you mentioned to cherry pick, like we released them in 15.5 instead of this PR.
Yeah, it's one thing. It will some fixes are not TypeScript related. They make sense like as a whole. So yeah, it was merged into master. One thing that you cannot do with like fast and simple conversion, we cannot remove legacy for stuff. So in for doesn't support function overloading in a good way, because like I think Facebook considered it a bad practice. So we use the workaround in for. So if you just like convert this file to TypeScript, you basically lose ability to you will keep flow workaround, and you will add like some TypeScript workarounds on top of flow workarounds. But the correct solution here is to just remove with workaround with declare, remove ESLint command, and just do function overloading. That's why, and like some of these things is contextual, it's legacy stuff, so it's based on history of project and some other things. So in that way I can provide my help by reviewing and commenting. So that's why this approach plus, when we don't plan to squash this commit, in the release plan it specifically says we will rebase it on top of main. So we will keep all the commits, and since every commit is like short and concise, you can understand why certain change is there. So we're not breaking uh, GitHub Git history. So we still have a blame. We still can understand why the certain line was added, and yeah, as I think what's why actually I think like Sahid spent like twice more time doing conversion in this fashion, but on the plus side, it's cleaner. We keep commit history, and it's easy to rebase. That's why like it's super easy. If I add something on top of 6 and x6 for Sahid is like couple of minutes to rebase it, maybe 5 minutes if there is some minor conflicts. So and so I want to ask Camille, did you use Sahid PR 2028 as a basis, or what was your approach for doing this migration?
Yeah, I use it as a base, but let's say 2 weeks from now, something like that. I mean, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks before. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's why one of the problem we actually lose. First thing, it's technically unreviewable. It's like you cannot. I can review end result. I can ensure it's work with code bases, but I cannot like look at it. Even like GitHub commit interface is
Yeah, those are just flow types.
Uh,
And and basically the types that were before and on the second PR are basically the same. It's just that I changed types to interfaces and applied few fixes just so we get better type safety, let's say. So then we have like function overflows, overloads and stuff. And then it gives you much like detailed or I don't know, more precise type safety in TypeScript.
Since you based it on 2828, it actually makes sense, and because in 2828 in like better shape, it's still like separate commits, and we always plan to rebase it. What I propose,
I will
yeah.
cherry pick on top, and then you can see all the changes and differences, and then we can just move on.
So idea is like my proposal on how to collaborate. So since it would be strange to like make it through Sahid fork and it's unreliable and have other problems, we create migrate to TS official branch on GraphQL.js. and Sahid would be able to, and me, to review your PRs against this branch, and we can merge it like for like next week, and hopefully next week we'll put it in the main. So there is like two approaches. We can collaborate now by like making official branch on GraphQL.js and PR from it, or we can or like around 1 week and we merge it and you cherry pick like fixes from your branch on top of main. Like both works. Like do you have time like next week, or like what's your schedule, and we can fix.
I'm always available. So yeah, it might be even tomorrow or
Okay.
a week from now. About I noticed that there is a check for Dino, and for Dino we need complete strictness completion, like to make it compatible with TypeScript strict mode. So as far as I can tell right now, so basically for my PR, there's basically it's the migrate to TS. It's a base for that. So the number of errors that we still have to go fully strict is around 750, but I kind of can get it work with like a code modification tool just to transform all the, like, for example, we have a lot of, I don't know, arguments without types, and those arguments are basically types, but
We
yeah,
speak.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so I could just write a tool to actually transform, let's say, I don't know, like 20% or something from just to make it work.
Yeah.
Should
One
be
thing,
fine.
try to keep it like separate PRs on topic. So, for example, you said about this transformation. So important thing for this transformation to be reviewable is to and to have clean Git history is to have it in separate commit. So when you make like fixes on transformation like that, um, try to keep it separate pairs, separate commits, and and I will I will create basically branch tomorrow. I will create a branch on GraphQL.js for you to collaborate as, and you can apply you can submit PRs on top of it. So this fix that you outline right now, it makes sense as a separate commit, a separate PR for whole code base. So idea is that one here's like one modification in separate PR, but through whole code base. So yeah, it would be great to have one commit that fix this issue. Yeah, we actually are aware of it, and it's a problem. It's like, and so it's not a new thing. It's like a problem of flow to TypeScript migration. Is that yeah, uh, flow things types are names, because in TypeScript it's like a name is required. You cannot just specify function type without names. But when we check, it was like dozens of places. So maybe it's worth to just change it manually, just to detect it with some tool, but change manually. Camille, about this plan that create a branch on GraphQL.js and you submit a difference as like separate PRs against this branch. Does it make sense for you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, usually what we do is just have very small PRs. So then, there's one PR for, let's say, changing something, because then instead of the commits, because then it's like, from my perspective, harder to actually rebase and do all that stuff. And if it's like super granular per pull request, and we have like I don't know, like one main pull request / branch, and then we just, do pull requests to that. I think it's helpful.
Yeah, so we'll try to do the same on GraphQL.js. Yeah.
Oh, and one question, not question, but one point about the flow types. It's kind of impossible at the moment to use just flow gen or whatever tool to transform from TypeScript to flow without any issues. There are not a lot of them, but actually, even from the perspective of maintaining it, if you have something that, automatically generates it, it might output a different, like it might give a different output every time, let's say you change something in the code. So I thought we could do something like TypeScript has before in GraphQL.js, which is like separate declaration files for types. So this is what I did. So we just copy pasted the flow files from the main branch, and just removed just left the types without the code. So then it's the same as it was, and yeah, and then like there will be a time where people will probably move away from flow, or like make it very not very commonly used, let's say. So then we can just remove those flow files and just move on.
Yeah, so probably we need, in future, we need to be more, to write more plans more detailedly and explain like reasoning. So current plan was twofold. Uh, first, Mike open issue to get a feedback if somebody actually needs a flow type or not. Only Mark like responded on it, saying like, yeah, we kind of need it, but we want to migrate from flow anyway to TypeScript. So I feel like most of big part of flow ecosystem considering migrating to TypeScript. And since it's new release, uh, idea is to do it like that. So all the code changes, everything is done in flow, and we release alpha 1 or maybe alpha 2, how many releases we need. And at this stage, before we merge 28, we have correct flow typings, exactly what we did. So if idea was uh, to do all like removing deprecated stuff and add new functionality, or all major changes, breaking changes in alpha 1, generate flow types, and we can either donate them into flow typed and ask flow community to maintain it for themselves, or in worst case scenario, it's basically like problem with flow types. It's kind of okay if we add new functionality without flow types in flow typed repo. Like there is definitely typed, and there is a flow typed repo for flow with similar idea. So it's better to keep it there. One of the problem that we discussed, and I think maybe Mike outlined in his issue, is that we switched to TypeScript to allow to facilitate like to allow more people to maintain to submit peers and help like with maintenance, even if they don't have a knowledge of flow or time to like learn flow. So that's primary reason why we switched to TypeScript. And if we require them to write flow types for all the changes, or to like if you want to add new function and you know TypeScript, you can implement it in TypeScript, but I cannot match it until person implement flow typings. It's kind of strange. So at the same time, I don't think it's reliable model when we will have one person to maintain flow types. So I'm like, idea was like sunset for flow types. So make all like break and change everything code wise in alpha 1 or maybe alpha 2. And if somebody need the typings, they can switch to 1600 alpha 1 and generate them. So, and after 16.0 release, we will not do breaking changes until 17. So projects, legacy projects that use Flow should continue to work, and it would cause problems only if you want a new functionality added after 16.0 release. So, hi Yuri. Hi. So it's to explain situation with flow types. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking because let's say we release an alpha version, and I've been there. I did open source and stuff, and it's quite unusual to get feedback from people that actually, not that matters, but that like a good feedback, let's say. Just from, for example, for the flow types, we can get it from Yelp, right? From the guy that actually responded. From the TypeScript, we can, as the guild, pretty much provide the, even with the codegen and the things we use in codegen, and like are much, there's a lot of complexity, so we can just check if the types are actually working. So I don't know if, I mean, I understand and that there's a reason, or I kind of accept the fact that, we want to go get this step by step. But at the end of the day, if we, let's say, release alpha 1 and there's I don't know, a week between one release and another, I don't think anyone will actually test it. For example, if we release the TypeScript and then Flow, or vice versa, at the end of the day, they will test the latest version. So then, you can have those two steps where you can just, like ask people to just go one version before and check if it works. Then you see, so there was a change in between, but it's already on master. So, or in the main branch, or even,
Yeah,
just,
we can apply fixes. So idea is like not to be like fanatic about it. So we should put most of the stuff we know about into alpha stage before TypeScript migration. But if we will fix some like small things or couple things afterwards, it's like not a big deal. One thing, like as you said, you generate full typings from a master. So idea is to do all code changes into alpha 1, so people can do the same. And we can try different approaches. If like we release 16.0 without flow types, and it will cause big problem through ecosystem. We just don't know how many non-legacy projects use GraphQL written in for and use GraphQL.js, so we don't have the statistics. So idea is to we can always add for types later. So we can try to release without it, and if it's not a big issue, we support 15xx with all types, and we will apply all security fix there, and even backport some features if it makes sense. But maybe it just so question here is not like writing them. Question here is maintaining them. So the same with polyfills. So for a long time, it was easy to write polyfill, but it was hard to maintain polyfills. So every PR that somebody opens against GraphQL.js, I need to explain them, please don't use object values, please use our polyfill for it, which is strange. So it's the same issue here. It's not a question of on writing flow types, it's a question of maintaining them. Plus, another big issue here is that previously our flow types was in better shape than TypeScript types because I enabled, I think like a year or two ago, I enabled type check on tests, which helped a lot. So we kind of have test suite test suite for TypeScript types. Not only like execution behavior, but for types because it will run TSC on top of test files. But for flow types, we in 16 after we make migration, we wouldn't have any like types test except integration tests, which is problematic. How can you maintain like correct flow types without having tests? For it worked for TypeScript because a lot of people use TypeScript, so it was like easy, and plus TypeScript easier in a sense than flow, but some flow stuff is super hard, so I'm like not confident that we can maintain a level of quality. Oh, yeah, so it's like explanation about flow types.
Yeah, I think there was the person in the flow topic, in the flow issue, and he responded, and he's from Yelp, so we can even like contact him, and I think he will be very keen to actually help us. So then whenever there's a change in the flow, he can just get like a canary release and just, or even like a, I don't know, a TGZ file or whatever, and just run it. I mean, for him, it's just probably changing the resolution in Yarn or whatever they use, and it should be fine. And we should get a feedback in, let's say, 2 or 3 days, I guess. So then, and I think he will be very keen to actually do this collaboration and just to make sure that we don't break them.
We're not breaking them, so it's like if
Yeah, but I'm saying you said that, let's say we have no tests in flow, so we cannot be sure that those flows definitions are in fact correct and they are non-breaking, let's say. So then this is my response to that. So just to get this magic mic, he has magic in the name, so I guess he can help us. And yeah, this way we could potentially make sure that there is this correctness between releases.
in it's depend on how much coverage. So like I expect yield code base like IP surface that GraphQL server uses and tooling uses totally like different. So in guild projects, we probably use visit and bunch of other complicated functions. A lot of projects and user projects, GraphQL servers. We have hundreds of API calls. I don't think there is a single project using all of them. So it's another issue. But what I actually prefer is that we donate typings here, and people can collaborate on them, discuss and review as part of flow typed. The same scheme apply to definitely typed in TypeScript. So it's like a question of, and I think here it's like procedure for merging your PR is faster in a sense and more for experts. So I'm more for donating generated types from 16 alpha 1 and donating them inside with, so like generating from here and donating them into flow type project for flow community to maintain them. So I think like is good transaction period. I also worried that, for example, he said they want to migrate to yeah soon. So it's the same for big part of for community. By doing it in 16x6, we don't want to do break and release too often. So we will stuck with flow types for some time. I'm like people basically abandoning for a lot of reason. I think like flow type and donating types to flow type is good intermediate step, because like until 7.7.0.0 until we start working on 17 release line, we need to maintain them, which is can take like a year or half a year. Yeah, I think half a year. We wanted to do next release faster to include like stream and defer and other functionality. So this is my point. But the cool thing that we can always add flow types. We cannot remove them after 16.0.0. We cannot remove them because it's breaking change, but we can always add them based on community feedback. If like community feedback would be like flow typed not working and it causing like a bunch of issues, I think like for community already used, most of the project already use flow typed. So yeah. Any other question on the release plan or like flow types or any other topic? So as an action item is for 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 me it's I need to create official branch to allow us to accept PR from Camille and to collaborate, especially since your PR is based on Sahid branch, Sahid PR, so it makes sense. I think it would be pretty easy to separate the changes. If you rebase your PR on top of main and Sahid rebase his PR on top of main, you can basically run a diff. And one thing is true, as you said, the same procedure as we do in Guild. So we will have like a main PR into main, and you submit like small PRs which can be reviewed, and maintain the same style. So one commit per change, but do this change globally. If it's like if it's 100 lines of code or something, it don't make sense to break it. into multiple commits, but if it's like more than like 100 or couple hundreds commits, please break it smaller chunks to allow easy review it easily. So we can collaborate. And we actually, in that case, we can accept like PRs from other people and maybe figure out how to make it strict. I didn't knew, by the way, thanks about that. I didn't knew that Dino is not accepting TypeScript files without a strict check. This is important thing to note. One thing I wanted to ask before we end, I forget to add this in agenda, but how do you feel about dropping Node 10 support? Because in 3 months, I think like 3 months or 4 months, Node 10 became deprecate, and like there is some with support for Node 10 make it harder for us to support ESM. I think like after Node 10, Node 12, basically allow you to just provide ESM without CGS. So it like make this task way simpler if we just drop Node 10.
I think it makes sense to drop Note 10. Like it's going out in April, so like
yeah,
we should just drop it.
Okay. One thing I think let's target for next like minimum expected result for next until next call is to finish like this item until February working group, and hopefully we'll also have some experiment with ESM and Dino, but basically until like February call, plan is to finish everything else, is to merge Sahid PR, merge like Camille improvement on Sahid PR, and have like, everything in TypeScript, maybe without like a strict check, but like have it as a base goal for until next working group. Anything else so you want to discuss before we close this working group? So it was pleasure to speak with you. Hopefully we will all collaborate and make this TypeScript migration happen before next working group call. So thanks for collaboration, and you can always ping me in Slack, by the way, to discuss stuff. I'm a little bit, my inbox, GitHub inbox overflowed, so I can like miss some issues or PRs, but if you want to discuss something, just ping me in GraphQL Slack. And basically, bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Very exciting.